Hey guys, welcome back to Tiny Disneyland. In this week's update, I worked on basically all of Frontierland and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. So here's a little tease right before we get onto the time lapse of the video. So hang on to your hats and glasses. This is going to be the wildest ride in the wilderness. Okay, let's get started on building Frontierland. So this is going to be a long time lapse, about 40 minutes worth of time lapse. There's a lot of little details and things that need to be built. So the first things first is to build the entrance area of Frontierland. Frontierland is kind of comprised in interesting, I don't know, it's showcasing different versions of the frontier. I think the original idea from Walt Disney was to pay a tribute to the men and women who ventured over the frontier to discover the Western Front. So that would be California, Nevada, Oregon, what else? Washington. So he just wanted to make a tribute to that. So it's very just, a very American Western. So the front area is looks like a military fort made of wooden logs. That's a really cool aesthetic to it, so I decided to do that as well. I'm glad that we got the new pillars that were recolorable. These are the wooden ones with the two tones. So it has the one tone is the length of the pole, and then there's a color you can change on the top. So that was actually really nice that we were able to have that option. So I just made it a darker brown and more of a tannish hue on the top part. And then I proceed on just trying to build a door of some sort. And I've done a wooden door like this before in my American Adventure a couple times, so might as well try it in vanilla. It works the same way. Just a little bit, the details are a little bit less, not as more if I had mods enabled. And yeah, I'm just gonna build the tops of the fences as well with those are cones. I should know what they are. I'm looking at them right now. They're cones. So the cones are just to represent that they've been cut and placed in the ground. And then there you go. You got your wooden fence fort wall. And then I had to go build some towers. There are 4 towers in total in the front area. There are 2 you see in the front area. There's one that's built actually in the building where the Mertile is. And there's another one built in the building where the Western Ho Trading Company building is. That's the pin trading shop and the shooting gallery. So I first did the logs kind of like, we'll see, I'm trying to remember what size I picked. I think these are 0.25 grid. No, these are smaller. These are like 0.15 or 0.18. Probably 0.15. Made those first, decided to put on this is actually on a half grid. That changes. That doesn't stay. Yeah, this is going to change, right? Because I found out that the roof that I wanted to use doesn't work like that. It works on a solid grid. This is actually separated on a half grid. So that actually dictated on how these towers were going to be built because the roof I chose. And that's the thing with vanilla, is that when you sometimes have to kind of build backwards. So I kind of built the towers actually the opposite direction. And that helped more than actually building it the other way, which would be from bottom to top. I did it top to bottom just because I picked a certain shape or piece that prevented me from doing anything else. But quickly had to go build the Frontierland sign. I did talk about this in the last video that I was going to separate the word Frontierland, because even though all the names in Disneyland are all one word, I can't do that because the lettering text that the game provides us can't go any smaller. So I have to compromise and just say Frontierland with the land at the bottom. I did the same thing with Adventureland as well. So that's what I did, and that's where I keep it that way. I think it's fine. It works. It says Frontierland. I believe it. It's kind of a little gigantic, but again, this is a art rendition of Disneyland. Is not supposed to be accurate, so I'll let it slide. I'm still kind of peeved at it, but I have to let it go because there's more to build in this Frontierland. So I destroyed the tower and started over. And there is the roof from the medieval pack. That is, I think it's just a regular wooden roof. Colored it gray, matched it up with the cylinders I was using for the log walls, and then proceed to build it top to bottom. And once I built one tower, I was able to blueprint that over again to the other locations of this area. So yeah, like the Frontierland is kind of an interesting layout. Frontierland sits in such a weird spot in Disneyland. It's built on a diagonal, has some interesting building placement, and most of the Frontierland buildings share the same building of Adventureland, so I had to also keep that in mind. So there was a lot going on with this park. This section of the park took about 2 weeks because I was on and off trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And also what was also infuriating to work with is that I've done Western before, so it's kind of boring to work with because I've done it so many times. So I'm kind of burned out on doing Western theming. But doing a log fort of this nature was kind of new for me, so that was kind of entertaining and fun. Now I just realized why did I delete that tower? I wonder why I did that. I think I was going to redo the roof, but I also wanted to redo some of the fencing. So yeah, you can see I'm just placing free placing it without grid, cones on top to represent the cut part of the wood. And then proceed. Oh, I wanted to make it taller. That's why I deleted it. I see. Yeah. It needs to be taller than the fence because there is an overhang that I wanted for the top of the towers. Because these towers is where I think a gun placement would go. There would be little peepholes on the top, and then the armed guard would be inside it. And then put a rifle through a slit in the wall, and then they use that as cover. I'm assuming that's what they did. I didn't do any research on this, but this is just the guess I have on what they did. So I just quickly made a new version of it, bigger, and it's actually over a grid space. Yeah, you can tell. I think it's on grid 8. Yeah, grid 8. So that means these cubes have to be these cylinders have to be 1.15. So keep that in mind. When I do certain sizing, there's a math that it's kind of like a math. So the smallest, okay, so the sizes of shapes go from can go from, was it 2 or 5? No, it's 2. 2 is the largest. So scale 2 is the largest to the smallest 0.10. That is the lowest we can go. Before it was actually not that small. Actually, I don't remember if that was the change. I know Rock's got a change. Okay, regardless, I digress. So when it comes to stacking cylinders, yeah, let's say we're making a pole that we stack. We do 0.13 is the lowest you can go to stack without having a gap, because if you stack a 0.10 cylinder, there's going to be a gap in between every time you stack it up, going up horizontally. So there's a math on that. That's the lowest you can go. Same thing with like doing something that's 45 degrees. 0.18 seems to be the magic number to connect things. 0.25 is also a very good round number to matching things on grid 4 or 8. So whatever the grid is helps match the sizes of what the pieces you choose. I hope this makes sense because it's kind of complicated. So I think, like, for example, this wall that you're watching here that I'm building for the trading post is 0.25 on grid 4. And 0.25 is basically 4/4 of a whole. Yeah, it's like fractions, right? So I hope that makes sense. I'm kind of like confusing myself, but I think I'm trying to I'm trying to make sense here. Math is kind of hard to explain, but this is how I've learned throughout the years of parkitecting, is that the certain sizes lets you do certain connections. And it helps to know those little numbers. So like when I put poles down, like for these poles here for the canopy I'm going to build later, I did on grid 8 so that I have at least one in the corner, and then the ones in the middle are basically in the middle of a lined grid. That's kind of basically what I do here. Yeah, these cylinders are 0.25, and they stack pretty close together. You can kind of tell when I stack them horizontally, they kind of sit nestled to each other, and it's a perfect connection. But if I was on 0.10 and I try to do that, there would be a giant gap in between. That doesn't look good. And the smallest you can go is 0.15. So that's the knowledge I know with shapes. I can probably go hours on it. I probably will have to do a collective of the knowledge I know about the shapes and stuff like that. I would have to write this down and then kind of maybe make this into a university episode, because there's a lot you can do with shapes. And I think sometimes my videos don't portray that, and I try to. But I should try to make a more cohesive lesson on shapes. I can try to talk about it here a little bit, but it's kind of hard to show you in a time lapse. I might have to show you in a live view, like an actual like a classroom setting, where I take a shape, show you the different things you can do with it, and then you can go build that thing or whatever we're trying to build, whatever the case could be. So let's move on to the next couple things. So this is the shooting gallery. And I had two thoughts about this before placing this down. I was either going to build it diagonally and actually make it painful for myself. So that means that would require me to build and use a lot of shapes and diagonal walls. Or I can just rotate it and make it completely straight and make my life easier. I'm glad I went with this option because it was way easier to do and it was represented better. Because sometimes I think when I try to do an actual realistic placement of a thing I'm trying to copy, I lose the translation of that building, and then I've wasted about 6 hours of working on that thing. So I didn't want to do that. So I quickly did that, and here we are with a very similar looking building to the shooting gallery. I wish I was able to actually make the shooting gallery inside, but can't see it from this angle, and I wasn't willing to make a cutaway on the top of the roof because it wasn't really going to be worth the effort. But it would have been fun if I was able to do it. It would have been really, really cool. So I did that, and then I did the sign here. There was a couple decision-making things that needed to happen again with the text. The text engine has been hurting me this round because I can't scale it down super small. I can't make long expressions. So I kind of lost it, because it actually says, what is it actually says? Shooting expedition. That's what it says, and that's really long. So I couldn't do it, and I had to just say it shooting, and it was just easier to do that, and so that's what I did. So the first thing I did was to make the target symbol on top of the sign. Very simple thing to do out of cylinders, discs to be exact. And then right now it says shooting, so I just get rid of the G and just say shootin' with the apostrophe, and it just looks better. Because I still wanted to suggest that it is a shooting gallery. I just couldn't say, what was the other word I was going to use? Oh yeah, I was going to say guns. But it's not a gun shop, it's a shooting gallery. There's a difference, so I didn't do that. And I'm glad I didn't, because guns would have been a super small word, 3 letters. Doesn't look as good. Shooting looks fine. I was going to actually also try to do a sign image trick, where I was either going to replicate the sign from the actual shooting gallery, make it out of shapes or something, and then take a picture of it. Didn't have the energy, didn't want to do it, so I opted to do something easy. Sometimes my decision making comes down to either do I want to put the effort in to copy a thing, or do I want to find the easiest way out. Sometimes the easiest way out is helpful, and sometimes it's not, because the easy way out, you can also lose the quality of your art that you're working on. So be aware of that. Don't always need to do that. So we're going to go across the street, and this is going to be the Mertile. Had a couple decision-making processes that had to happen. I was going to either rotate it 90 degrees to make it straight, or keep it 45 degrees for that diagonal. And I wanted to do the diagonal, just because I wanted a little bit to break up the grid. And that's the thing I like to do in Vanilla Parkitect, is really break up the grid. And building on that 45 degrees really helps on doing that, and I opt into doing that basically. So the Mertile, what does it have? I think it's just the main shop of Frontierland. It has all the merchandise you can buy. So you have your jackets, shirts. Gosh, I haven't been to Disneyland in a long time. I don't remember what's in the Mertile. There's a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of Western stuff, right? So nothing too crazy. In Parkitect standards, I think I stuck in a souvenir shop, and I think I just made it sell cowboy hats and sombreros. I think that's what I did, just to kind of keep the theme. But if you think about like Disneyland in general, most of it's like known locations or shops. Yeah, I think so, actually. Main Street is one giant shopping mall. Tomorrowland has Star Trader. And Store Command. Yes. Frontierland has the pin shop across the way at the Westward Ho Trading Company. And then Mertile, Bonanza, Outfitters. Yeah, there's a lot of shops. Dang. And then, yeah, Adventureland also has it too. The Bazaar would have it. Yeah. Again, I digress. Just the things I think about when I am working on this project and the Disneyland things that come up in my mind. Again, I haven't been in the park in... What's the last time I went? I want to say 2019? I think that's wrong. I think it was even earlier, 2018. 2019 is the last time I went, because I got outpriced, because the prices for Disneyland are actually just insane. Because I think their top tier annual pass is like almost $1,800 or something. That's just ridiculous. But that's just how it goes. So I'm just going to quickly, what am I doing here? Just finish the sign for the Mertile. Just your normal shape shenanigans that I've been doing for ages now. And just finish the details on this building. There's really not much to this building. And I'm also keeping in mind that I still have a park to build. Like the rest of the park needs to be finished. And so I'm trying not to overly detail everything, because it can slow down eventually when I have so many things in this map. I'm already experiencing at least 1 to 2 minute load times now into this map. It's getting chunky as I add more things to this map, and I expect at least almost maybe like a 3 minute load time. I know that American Adventure that I have, my park American Adventure, I think it's about a 2 to 3 minute load time now. It's long now because there's so much in the map, and I pray that I don't get this map corrupted, because that would devastate me. So we're going to venture down the main street here. We're going to do, this is going to be the Bonanza Outfitters. It's just another building, a part of the Western Main Street, because it's kind of funny to think about it. Every land is a main street if you think about it. So you have your main street, main street, and then you go to Adventureland. You have a Adventureland Main Street, which has all these buildings, and then Frontierland has a main street of Western buildings. New Orleans has a street of buildings. Let's see here. Tomorrowland has a corridor and buildings on either side, so it's kind of a main street. Fantasyland is a village, so that does classify as a main street. And then Toontown is literally a town with a main street. So I didn't really put this together until now. Like, every land has a main street. Even the newest lands they added to the design, which was Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, has a main street. So we're just a collective lands of main streets. How weird is that? So should we just call Disneyland Main Street Land? And it seems like that's the behavior. It's kind of funny to think about. Well, whatever. Moving on to finishing up the Outfitters. So I stick the sign in. Found out you can kind of scale it down, but you can't. It's a max scale down. And I tried to cram it in between this ledge here. It worked out, but I had to edit away some of the shapes here. Yeah, you can see how I just deleted some. It says Bonanza Outfitters, and this actually has, I think the store actually has hats in it, a hat store, or did I use the t-shirt store from the t-shirt shop? I barely use that from the DLC. It's the t-shirt shop from, I think it's from Taste of Adventure pack. Yeah. So yeah, you can kind of just see how Tomorrowland's kind of forming as I build toward it. So we're going to go back across the street and go where the shooting gallery is, and I had another decision to make. Delzo sits on a diagonal in real life. So the choices was I can keep it at a diagonal and cut myself off and can't build Big Thunder. That was the issue, and so I had to rotate Delzo another 90 degrees, and I stuck it behind the shooting gallery. But in reality, the shooting gallery is built on a diagonal, and Delzo kind of sits next to it, and the whole land kind of turns toward Big Thunder Mountain and then the river. That was kind of a weird thing. So I decided just to rotate it, and I was excited to work on Delzo because I wanted to use the Fantasy roofs that we got, the new ones from the 1.10 update, because I can make them look like tiles. This is perfect. So I was excited to use those. So that's what I did. I used those, kind of figure out the connections between these two buildings, the Westward Ho and Delzo, and then I thought to what food shop should I use for Delzo, and I chose corn dogs because there's no Mexican option. I didn't realize until now we have no Mexican option for Parkitect. We have a Chinese shop, which is kind of funny. We have a sandwich shop. Do we have a sandwich shop? I don't think we have I think we do have a sub shop. I can't remember. Or that might be Rollercoaster Tycoon. Regardless, we don't have a Mexican option. It's so funny. I didn't realize this until now. So I just opted and just did a soft drinks and corn dogs. That's it. That's what this restaurant is now, which is kind of weird, but that's the one I went for. It's so funny because I was going to build the what's it called? Corn dog truck in Main Street. Didn't do it. I might not do it because I'm kind of already past that. I'm already venturing off to the other parts of Disneyland, so I won't probably do it. But Delzo now is a corn dog stand, not a Mexican restaurant, which is just weird. But it is a Mexican restaurant in real life. They serve... Man, what does Delzo serve now these days? I think their menu has changed. But when I went, it was just your normal Mexican dish. So it would be your Mexican rice, refried beans, tortillas, chicken. I don't remember the desserts. It's been a while. But I frequent Delzo a lot when I went as a kid and young adult. It was just a place to hang out. And again, it had Big Thunder right next to it. So it was a kind of a cool place to hang out and kind of coaster watch and watch trains go by. So I did that a lot. And it was a cool place to also bunker down when it rained a little bit, even though some of the canopies were not as rainproof as it should be. But Delzo was like one of my favorite hangouts. I normally don't talk about my Disneyland visits ever on this channel. I might as well talk about them here because this Disneyland project is bringing up those memories again. So as a, let's see here, let's pick an age range. 10 years old. We go to Disneyland basically weekly at that point back in, oh man, what's the math? Oh, I'm not going to do the math. I'm going to totally screw it up. But okay, regardless, 10 years old, we would go maybe after school. Mom would take us out, and then we would go to... We either would think about doing Fantasmic that night, because usually Fantasmic ran probably... Well, Fantasmic would actually run at the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we could, yeah, we would go after school on a Friday. Mom didn't care if we had homework or not. She just wanted to go to Disneyland, so that's what we did. We would get to Disneyland. We would get to, let's say... set up our towels and our seating area for Fantasmic, because that's before the tickets were like, that's before you had to make reservations for Fantasmic, because Fantasmic would actually first come, first serve, find a spot in the bricked area where Phantasmic Viewing is, and you set up there. And we would do it at like 12 to showing. First show was probably what, 8 o'clock. Honestly, that's when Disneyland was like the perfect Disneyland, when you had to do things like that. It was kind of crazy, but we would hang out at Delzo in the meantime, maybe get some meals, and then we would venture out to where Phantasmic Viewing spot would be, set up our camping stuff, and kind of just chill and wait until Phantasmic started as soon, because as the day goes on, people start setting up and sitting, and so that's what we did, and we would wait, and it was actually really nice. It was kind of a cool little experience that I remember as a kid, doing Phantasmic and doing a Disneyland day. And so once you have that set up for the Phantasmic, and you have that claim, we would venture off doing rides and stuff like that. We would go venture on our own, do a ride, come back, have a snack, go back out, things like that. So that's what we did as kids at Disneyland. It was kind of fun. I kind of miss it, but it's been ages. And the parks now are completely operate differently now. From what I've read online and what I've seen, Phantasmic is not the same anymore. Phantasmic has changed a lot. And yeah. I digress a little bit. As you can see, I'm just building more of Delzo. Delzo is kind of growing pretty at a fast pace here. Got cubes and shapes and roofs and pillars going in. And then proceed to build some canopies. This is just a simple triangular this is just a triangular piece for the roofs. Just simple. Didn't want to do anything extra because, again, this is like an imitation art piece. It's not supposed to be accurate. Let me think of other Disneyland memories I had. There's so many. Man, I have so many memories. And it's hard to kind of categorize them. But for like, let's stick with Frontierland memories. Like Big Thunder Mountain, I've broken down on several times. That's been fun. Speaking of Big Thunder, here we go. This is the second layout actually I designed for this ride, because I built a layout, didn't like it, started over. So you can see on the ground, I drew it out with the terrain editor, quickly kind of giving myself an idea. The layout's not accurate. Again, nothing's going to be accurate in this park. But I picked like your key moments, like the helix is placed in the right spot, the chain lift's kind of in the right spot. So I kind of picked things in these weird spots, not necessarily weird spots, but accurate spots that kind of make it match to the ride, and just went from there. I was very concerned when I got to this area. I looked, I'm like, this is a small area. Can I actually fit in a roller coaster? Because Space Mountain, the last one I did, was pretty small. Matterhorn's pretty small-ish, large. The scaling of these mountains could be better, but I'm going to also chalk it in to be like, well, I'm going to make them a little bit more prominent because they are like your key rides in the park. The 4 mountains of Disneyland, which are comprised of Matterhorn, Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and Splash Mountain. That is the 4 mountains of Disneyland. So I might as well make them a little bit more prominent and to kind of showcase their glory. That's what I that's my excuse for how big they are, because the mountain here is pretty large. It is almost as tall as the Matterhorn that I built earlier. I didn't realize I tried to make them super tall, and I try not to. But the viewing angle of this game tricks you sometimes, and I forget it does that, and so it did it to me a little bit, because I made it very tall-ish. But I'm not going to change it. I already built it. It's done. I won't necessarily... It will bother me for a little bit, and then I kind of just live with it and move on. So there's my excuse. It's more prominent. That's all it is. That's basically it. Let me think here what else is going to happen. Yeah, I'm just going to figure out the layout here. Some of the layouts, turns and straights are going to change momentarily as I build through the mountain, because when I'm building a Big Thunder Mountain, I've built so many at this point, like a lot. Yeah, how many have I built? Building a Big Thunder is kind of like what I do. It's just, I like building mine trains with mountains. So I did the same thing here. Wasn't going to be too hard for me to build a Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, but I needed to make it also a little bit somewhat accurate. I mean, I did one Big Thunder Mountain recreation several years ago. You can go find it on my channel. It is a pretty good recreation. I would love to maybe redo Big Thunder Mountain Railroad recreation, maybe, because I have some better knowledge and better techniques now, especially with Construction Anarchy and Transform Anarchy available. I can probably do some crazy things, because the last Big Thunder Mountain-esque ride I made was Thunder Mesa, and that was actually pretty solid. I liked that project a lot. You can go check out that video as well. So with this Big Thunder Mountain, it was just going to be a small version of everything that I've known and learned this far. So cylinders are my base of my rock that I use to kind of make the shape of it, and then I use regular rocks to kind of highlight certain edges and cliffs and sides of the mountain. So you can kind of see here I'm just using cylinders and discs, kind of shaping it around the track, because all what Big Thunder is the track's placed first and the mountain's built after, and we're supposed to make it believable that the track is being warped by the mountain. That's kind of I think that's the story, technically speaking, so it's kind of interesting. So you can kind of see here just figuring out my different shapes and colors and the train. Yeah, and then figure out the top part of the mountain. It's kind of mesmerizing watching me build a Big Thunder Mountain Railroad again like this. It's pretty nice. So we got that part in, kind of getting the shape I want. I don't have any words to describe how I do this. It just kind of comes naturally. Kind of my excuse. It's kind of a weird excuse. But I'm just kind of just winging it. There's really no method. It's all by feeling and what naturally looks like a mountain. Because I think that's what makes theme park design interesting, especially when a park builds a mountain of some sort. Because we're mimicking nature. And so when I think of nature, I think of everything's not necessarily... No, yeah, see, nature's not even. Nature's like uneven. So when I do a lot of curves and natural spacing, non-symmetrical things, because if it's symmetrical, then you know it's like, oh, that's not real. So I try to make this as believable as possible. But at the end of the day, Big Thunder Mountain, I don't think could be possible. Not with that spires and how high they are. I know that rain and wind can really like carve into mountains and canyons. I've seen that before. Again, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad I think is copied, or the inspiration is Bryce Canyons. So I know that's real. But the shape of what Big Thunder Mountain looks like, there's just no way. There's a creator that I follow on YouTube. His name is Thunder Mesa Studios. That's mostly... He's trained model making basically, and he does everything that's Big Thunder Mountain, Calico Mine Train-esque. And he has a small model called Bandit Canyon, and the rock sphere is in the shape of a 6-shooter gun, which makes that's not possible in real life at all. But it's kind of fun to see that it's imaginative. And I kind of view that with what Parkitect can do. So the mountain is kind of have to be imaginative, not realistic, and kind of just go from there. So you can kind of see it as the mountain kind of shapes, and it's starting to feel like Big Thunder Mountain as I add more bricks here and there and add more shapes. It takes up a lot of shapes to get the shaping right, honestly. There are shapes and pieces that you will no longer see anymore because it's all stuck inside the mountain. But I say this looks pretty solid so far. Well, I'm running out of things to talk about because I can just watch this for hours, just watching me put down cylinders, even though I did it. I remember doing it. It's kind of funny watching it from a time-lapse perspective. Yeah. I can talk about... what can I talk about? Big Thunder Mountain. One of my favorite attractions at the park. I think Is it my second ride that I went on when I was a kid? Because there was a tier of roller coasters that we did as kids. So my dad would start us off with Gadget Go coasters in Toontown. And then we graduated to Matterhorn Mountain. And then we graduated to Big Thunder Mountain. And then Indiana Jones. And then I think Space Mountain was like the last one we touched. But it was kind of like a stepping up motion. We would pick the next ride that would be our next big achievement as kids. It's kind of funny. And it's a funny memory. I don't know why I think it's funny, but I think it's a fun memory to have. Because my dad was really concerned on making sure that we were ready for the next challenge. And the rides kind of tiered themselves up. I kind of do that now with rides now. I can decide if I want to do... I don't know. Just thinking about it was kind of fun. So we venture off into building. What am I doing now? Oh, the station. Man, I've done the station before in my recreation a while ago. This station, on the other hand, had to be significantly smaller and can't be dual station because guess what? It is a vanilla build, and I don't have enough space to make it look. Well, I made it look like a dual station. You can kind of see the second pair of tracks that I use another coaster from. Did put that in. I'm suggesting it's just a sighting. I'm going to talk about it real quickly. The S bend here, you can see the curve, and there's no switch, but I do make a mock switch out of chocolate bars, and you can see it in the tour. And this is future me. And past me already did the recording for the tour. I didn't talk about the chocolate bar switches, but keep an eye out. You can look at them. I also posted a picture of the chocolate bar switches on the Discord for the Parkitect Discord. You can go look at that too. So they're kind of a cool technique. I was able to scale them down to kind of nestle them into the ground. And because chocolate bars are shiny, it mimics the track. And so it kind of worked out really well. That's just how funny little accidents happening. I always keep finding new ways to use pieces. I thought it would max out at this point. I thought I would find... I've been playing this game for almost 6,000 hours. At this point, wouldn't you think I would have found all the little tricks and ways to use a piece? Apparently not. Chocolate bars are still pretty strong. Very useful piece. And ever since we got the recolorable option to color a lot of things at this point, the possibilities have skyrocketed. So we'll see what that's like. That's gonna be fun. So you can just see me just fiddling around with pieces, figuring out what feels good, what doesn't feel good. Most of the time when I'm building, it's a lot of spinning the camera. I try not to move the camera, but it's really hard to. So that's kind of the process of building these very detailed lands. Yeah, so I just build a roof out of, I think these are 0.25. Yeah, these have to be 0.25. Or 15, actually. These might be 15 on grid 8. Yeah, the 15 on grid 8. Yep. It's a pretty small square, but I wanted to have an overhanging roof. It worked out better this way. So yeah, if you want overhanging roofs on your building, build it on shapes. Unfortunately, we don't have shapes that are like 22 degrees. That would be cool if we had them. But there's mods that kind of fit that role, so you can do that. Or you can build a roof and then rotate it 22 degrees with the Transform Anarchy mod. That could totally work too. There's multiple solutions to a problem. But in this case, being vanilla, there's only one solution. And the solution is 45 degree cubes on size, what was it, 15? Yeah, 15 on grid 8. So venturing back over to the other side of Frontierland, because I did finish up Big Thunder Mountain I did some things off camera. You'll see that in the tour, because we're about to wrap up this video as we speak, because there's a lot going on. So I wanted to finish the rest of Main Street before sending this video out or finishing this week's work, because I didn't feel like it wasn't necessary to leave it empty. I need to at least finish it. I could come back and freshen up these buildings a little bit more, but they're also not fully detailed either, because it's supposed to be a representation of Disneyland. And I'm keeping in mind that I still have a numerous amount of park to still finish. So this shop here is between the dry goods and Golden Horseshoe. Nothing too crazy about that. So yeah, I just skip it because there's really not much to show. So at the end here is going to be Delzo. Not Delzo. Oh my goodness. What am I doing, Astro? No, this is Golden Horseshoe. So this is the main show building. It's not a show building. Yeah, it's a show building. It's a show with food options, and that's basically what it is. Golden Horseshoe has been around since the park opening. Or Disneyland, 1955, yeah. So I just wanted to make a very simple version of Golden Horseshoe, not as detailed as it is in real life. So I picked your basic shapes and stuff like that, did some roofing for the balcony, did some shapes shenanigans here to make that a diagonal edge to mix with the cobblestone floor, because in front of the theater is just a cobblestone patch, which is interesting they chose to do that. I don't know if that might have been added later, actually, because the flooring of Frontierland I think used to be dirt. No, that fact might not be real. That I might be correlating to Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's Berry Farm used to have dirt in their ghost town. I don't think Disneyland did. I think Disneyland had regular concrete floors. I could be wrong. I didn't do my research. It's been a while, actually, since I've done a actual look into. But I digress. The flooring in Frontierland was changed eons later and to mimic dirt, because they made it look like it has wagon wheel tracks in it and horseshoe tracks in it, but it's all concrete. They did that, oh my goodness, at least a couple decades ago. So with Golden Horseshoe, it is just going to I'm just going to use shapes, borders. It's at a diagonal because it has to be. Nothing too crazy. The hexagon piece has been very useful for connecting your 45s to your 90-degree shapes. It is a wonderful shape. I talked about it in my RoboPark. It's a good shape. It is wonderful to use. So, yeah, I'm just watching me put in what's going to happen next. So the windows. Yeah, windows are going to go next. Some of the decorational pieces, the gingerbreading needs to be put in. That oval piece is pretty cool to use because it adds a different shape to my buildings. And it kind of matches the one from Golden Horseshoe. I quite like it. It's starting to turn into Golden Horseshoe. There are some details I might have to add on it later, because this park will probably never be completed, technically speaking, if I go back and change some things, get some new pieces, stuff like that. But I'm happy with the results. I'm happy with most of the results of this Frontierland. It's been pretty solid. I just wish this didn't take this long to get this out, because it was such a long haul to get this done. But I'm glad I got another section of the park finished, because I can then go to focus on some other places. Because I got a lot of lands. So I have Fantasyland to work on tomorrow. The Toontown. Oh, rest of Tomorrowland. Oof. Yeah, I'll explain more of that in the tour, because yeah, I got lots to still work on. Yep, just gonna finish up these windows on the Golden Horseshoe. They look pretty solid. And then using the new fences we got from the 1.10 update, they've been very useful to add different variation to my custom fencing. Wonderful piece. Yeah, it's like this park alone has been like the showcase of all the new 1.10 stuff. So let's quickly get over to the break, and I'll show you what what Frontierland looks like. Welcome to Frontierland. Man, this was a difficult and exciting part of the park because of how Frontierland is positioned in real life. So again, translating it to Parkitect was a challenge and a half because everything has to be on the grid, and Frontierland in real life is actually built on a lot of diagonals and not straight. But I tried my best with the limited nature of the game, and I think I did a pretty good job. So we'll start off with the first area that's kind of connected to the hub. So you walk across the wooden bridge into the first area of Frontierland. This is the fort, and I think I did a pretty good job on imitating the wooden structures of the fort. I got the fort towers included, I got the Mertile built, and then the Westward Ho trading company, which is the pin store, and the Frontierland shooting gallery, which I just call it shootin' because I couldn't say shooting gallery because the words cannot be scaled down small enough. Ah man, only if I had construction anarchy on, but I don't in this project because everything's vanilla because I am crazy. So we venture down Main Street. Not Main Street, well, it is a Main Street. Technically speaking, it's Main Street for Frontierland. We do the Bonanza Outfitters and the other shops kind of included. I didn't add some of their signs because it's too small of a detail. Then at the end of the street is the Golden Horseshoe Saloon. I'm debating on making signs, but because text can't get small enough, I don't know if it would be necessary to. I might just keep it blank as is because it is just the Golden Horseshoe. I don't necessarily need to do all the signage. It still looks like it to me, so as long as it checks that box, I'm okay. I'm going to keep it as is, but I finished that end and kind of like finish up combining both sides of Adventureland and Frontierland together. This little black spot here is going to probably be the Riverbell Terrace, which I think got renamed to Riverbell Barbecue, I think. I don't remember if that was the... I don't think that's the... I don't know. I don't remember. But I know it as Riverbell, which is a restaurant that's between Adventureland and Frontierland. So there is like going to be a transition between the building, but it also adds a way to do the transition into New Orleans this way. I digress. We continue back over. So we go back to the front of the street. So here's the shooting gallery again. We venture off into the first restaurant of the land, which is the Delzo restaurant, or Rancho Delzo, I think is actually fully named. It's funny because I kind of angled it 90 degrees to send it in the back here, and it made sense too, because again, the grid spacing is what really was forcing me to kind of crunch things down. So I'm glad I was able to put this in at a small little backstage area that's kind of hidden behind the trees, kind of filled in that spot. I kind of knew it when I called it that I wasn't going to build the Carnations or Fantasy Fair. There's no reason I was going to build it. There's no way. So I'm glad I called that, and I just did it from there. And now for the biggest thing that was added to Frontierland was Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. There was a lot of differences that had to happen for this layout. Again, the track layout's not accurate, doesn't need to be, but it has your key moments. So you have your helix, you got your last end of the ride into the Dinosaur Gap and the splashdown, and then the coaster goes around near Rainbow Ridge, which is a small little version of the town, all super small, tiny. And then I kind of mimic some switches, and even though this is all not realistic, and like this kind of ends here, technically speaking, this should be a switch here, but this is Tiny Disneyland. It doesn't have to be accurate. It just has to be mimicking or an image of what Disneyland should be. And I kind of like the idea of having this piece of track here, kind of suggesting that a train would pull in, unload its cargo, and back up, and then, you know, do its thing. But that's just me. So yeah, you can just kind of see how Big Thunder was kind of... I was surprised how I was able to cram it in here. Now, the things I did have to get rid of. So if you follow my mouse, there is a pathway that would go around the Big Thunder Mountain, which is called the Fantasyland route, or the Fantasyland pathway, that actually connects to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in the current Disneyland. That will actually go behind Big Thunder and then end up over here to Fantasyland. I've opted to remove that because there was no room to really add it. There might be a chance I might add it in later if I actually, let's say, the river itself is not necessarily concrete just yet. It could move a couple feet up, but we'll see. I don't know yet because I'm still debating a lot of places. Like Haunted Mansion, you can see here there's a giant arrow that has to actually move all the way down up against Splash Mountain, because I looked at Google Maps and Haunted Mansion and Splash Mountain sit literally next to each other. And I'm going to mimic that here just to give myself extra space for what should go here is Pirates and New Orleans and the train station for New Orleans Square. So that still has to be built. Those are going to be places that are very crammed in space, but that's fine. And then the next couple projects would be, I need to work on the Riverboat landing for the Mark Twain. Kind of clean up the edges of the rivers of America, make it that the stonework and the stone walkwork, the stonework and the stone walkways that kind of go around the riverbank. Got to build that house on top, or the house on the island that houses all the equipment for Fantasmic. And then make another fort in the back here if I really want to build. I think I want to build the fort. That would be Fort Wilderness. Yes, I will build that. And then maybe in this back corner I could build what was it called? The Indian camp. I think that would be great too. This little thing here was the Big Thunder Mountain sign that I custom built for the ride, because I wanted to have it built in not Minecraft. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking Minecraft at the same time. How funny. I wanted this built in Parkitect as well, so I did it here. You can kind of see it in the front part. Yeah, here it is. You can kind of see it. Kind of matches the same lettering style as the logo, and I just that was cool to kind of build it in Parkitect and then use it in the game. I did it in my last campaign episode. That was RoboPark. I did it as well, so it kind of did the same technique here again. So yeah, this is Big Thunder Mountain, and all of Frontierland basically is finished, except for that this needs to be built next. I'm thinking of what I want to do next, because as you can see, the park is expanding quite quickly, and there's less and less spots that are empty, which is a good thing, right? But when there's spots that are empty, it's harder. Well, spots that are small, it's going to be harder and harder to fill in those spaces. I think I want to work on a little bit of Fantasyland to get that more anchored. So I think I want to maybe work on this building first. That will house... There's 3 dark rides here. There will be Peter Pan, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and Alice in Wonderland. So those are the 3 rides I should try to build. The fun fact with Mr. Toad's and Alice in Wonderland actually has to go up and above Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And so I'm going to try to imitate that here. Now the track layouts for these attractions alone will be way smaller than their actual counterparts. Like for Peter Pan, for example, it might be just a loop. Like literally a loop. And I'm probably going to use... I think I want to use... Not this. I think I want to use the inverted dark ride. Just because it is inverted. That matches the style of what Peter Pan is. So I'll use that. Mr. Toad's will use the car ride, and I think... Oh man, I don't know what I'm going to use for Alice. I don't have any bugs that would match that. Oh, I can use the gentle monorail ride. Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah, because it looks like a snail. Ooh, that actually might be cool. I can paint it pink and purple and blue and green and yellow and all the colors of the caterpillars. And the helix part, let me double check. This is cool. I wanted to do a test. Oh yeah, look, see, I can do helixes. Yeah, you know what? I might use the gentle monorail for Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, that's my decision. Because right now it's so funny. I've used the haunted the Haunted ride so many times now. I've used it for Buzz Lightyear, we used it for Haunted Mansion, and we used it for Winnie the Pooh, which is kind of funny. But I want to use a different ride to imitate the bugs or the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. So I think the next project for the next week will probably be working on a half of Fantasyland, and then get onto more places, more parts of the park. I'm going to bounce around between projects because I kind of like the idea of just going from one side of the park to the other. Like for Tomorrowland, that needs to be built. Innoventions might have to be built still. I'm thinking about that still. And then all of Autopia, Submarine Voyage, and the monorail has to be built. That's going to be a pain because all of that's on top of each other. That's fun. But yeah, there's a lot here. And then I still have to debate on Toontown happening, Small World, and most of Fantasyland. And I have to build Casey Jr.'s Circus Train. Oh, a Dumbo. I don't have a Dumbo ride. Wait a minute. Dumbo might be just the jumper rethemed again to look like Dumbo. Not necessarily the Orbiter, but the jumper would make more sense. Where's the jumper? There's the jumper. It's a 5x5. That would make sense, actually. Yeah, the jumper could be Dumbo. Yeah, I can do that. Okay. What other flat rides are in Disneyland? I'm trying to double check my rides as I ramble on. I'm just thinking. No, I think that's it, because Submarine ride will be the submarine ride that we use. Monorail will be the monorail, and then Autopia is going to be using the go-karts. Now, when it comes to Toontown, I shouldn't think about it right now. It's a way farther project because that's probably will be one of the last lands I touch. Or, push comes to shove, I delete Toontown because I don't want to do it. Because Toontown, here's the difficulty about Toontown. I'm going to let my brain wander for a second. The difficult thing about Toontown is that because it's Toon themed, everything has to be curvy and there's no straight lines. I've done this before in a go-kart attraction build challenge. Where's my go-kart? Go-kart, here we go. I did it once a long time ago, a couple years ago. I called it Toon Taxi, and I built a Toon version, and it turned out pretty good. It was my experiment to see if I can do Toony type of architecture, and it worked out. So I'm brave enough to do it, but I'm also scared not. I'm just kind of mixed on this, but it could work because look, I did like dip and stuff, and I'm pretty positive I can do it, but it might not happen. I don't know. It just depends. So yeah, that's my rant for now, or my ramble. What Disneyland's gonna do, but yeah, we're just gonna close it off here then. So thank you guys for watching, and I will continue to build more for this park and continuing updating as usual. But here's the last shot of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. I think it looks nice. Oh yeah, I didn't show you at nighttime. I think it kind of is a great addition to the Tiny Disneyland roster, because right now with I have I have all 4 mountains. Yeah, I do. How cool. I have Splash, Big Thunder, Matterhorn Mountain, and Space Mountain. I think they look wonderful. I need to add lights to Matterhorn though, but it looks good though. Like everything at this point looks like Disneyland, feels like Disneyland. I am quite happy how far this project's going. So thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next update of Tiny Disneyland. I'll see you guys later. Bye.